Get ready to dive into one of the most anticipated cozy games of 2024, Luma Island. And if you're curious about what this charming adventure has in store, you're in the right place. Today, we'll explore the delightful gameplay and exciting features that will make Luma Island a must-play when it launches in November, in my opinion. I'll be sharing insights from the demo, so while some things might change in the final release, here's a sneak peek at what we can expect. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So what we're going to do is start off with what you can expect starting out in the game, what happens on your homestead, and then what happens when you're out exploring the world. I think that's a good way to kind of break it up. So let's start with what happens when you first load in the game. You can expect a character creator. Now, so far from what I can see in the demo, we don't have an extensive character creator, but for what it is, I must say, I really enjoyed it. You start off in a really cute little room and you have a variety of different options for outfits that allow you to kind of express your personality. We have a range of skin colors. I think that for the character creator, for what we have, it is done really well and I enjoyed making my character. I even found it difficult sometimes to figure out what exactly I wanted to wear. So I'm hoping in the future too that there's a way to actually change your character's appearance. I'm assuming that might be a feature in the game, but so far I haven't seen anything like that. So I just want to make a note of that here. So once you create your character and jump into the game, you start out on your homestead, which is a quaint little area with what looks to be something like a little mobile home there. The game does a good job of kind of directing you around on what you should be doing and how to get started. One of the things I want to note is that the navigation or the map in the game is really not very helpful. If you go into your map, you will see that it's just kind of a square. However, I was really excited to see in their Discord, I'll share pictures and put it up on the screen, that they do have plans to make a better map. And I'm really excited about it because the new map looks a lot better and I think it's going to be super helpful for navigation. So that is something you can look forward to once the game is fully released in November. Outside of that, you do have these little glow bugs that lead the way for certain quests that you may be on, which I found very nice, a really nice touch, and I found really helpful. So they will just kind of guide you to where you need to be going if you have that quest tracked. So if you're someone who finds it hard to find your way around town, you will have a map and the glow bugs to kind of rely on, and I think that will be very helpful for you. Now, the next thing that's most important when you're starting your game is that through your early questing, you're going to come to an area where you decide on your profession in the game. This is one of the highlights of the game for me. I absolutely love the idea of choosing a profession and being able to fully customize kind of like your gameplay experience. So starting out in the game, you have the option to choose between cook, brewer, treasure hunter, blacksmith, fisherman, jewelry crafter, and archaeologist. I think this is a great variety and a great range to have for the different professions and depending on the different things that you want to actually do in the game. One thing to keep in mind about professions is that they do have a difficulty level, so you'll see when you're hovering over them that some are more difficult than the others, with archaeology being the most difficult, which we'll get into like diving in the dungeons and all that stuff, but there is a element of difficulty for the dungeons, so I can see why that's rated the most difficult. Another thing I want to note is that these professions do depend on kind of what gameplay style you're most interested in, or if you want a combination of two. They're separated into professions that will mainly be you doing something on your home plot versus what you would be doing if you're out exploring the world. So you can choose to have one, like for example, cooking, that would require you to spend a lot of time growing crops and different, resources on your farm at home, versus archaeology has you venture out and explore the dungeons, mines, and other places like that. Also, it is mentioned that you can eventually choose more than one. So making a combination of the two could be a great way to get the best of both worlds, or you could just simply choose to be a homebody, because there's truly nothing wrong with just cooking or brewing if that's what you're interested in the game. Now that we've talked about professions, let's talk about the separation between homestead and then also out and exploring. We're going to start with homesteading first. So there are lots of things you can do on your home plot. You have farming, crafting, farm animals and pets, and fast travel. Let's talk about each one of these individually. Let's talk about farming first. So you do start with a set of starter tools like we do in most of our cozy farming games. There are boxes around where you can collect these different tools, everything from an axe to a pickaxe, a garden hoe, a whip, and other things like your fishing rod as well. Through using your garden hoe, you will be able to till the land so that you can make plots to grow your produce. And you get the produce and the seeds from the shops in town, so you can go into town and buy seeds and things like that for you to plant. Crafting, I think specifically, has been done really well in this game, and if you are familiar with Dinkum, then you would probably really like the crafting system. It kind of has this little animation where you like see the resource pop out of your character and into the machine, and vice versa. It pops back out of the machine and back to your character. There is an auto pickup, so it's kind of a graceful transition between the resources that come from the machine and yourself. Everything that you make comes as a blueprint, or also known as a recipe. You kind of set it down and it's blue at first, but then it turns into the physical machine once you've added all the resources to it. One thing that I do want to make a note of when it comes to crafting is knowing how much to add of each ingredient is slightly confusing, and I don't know if it's just a me issue or if anybody else has experienced this, but sometimes when I am crafting a resource, I don't really know how much of the resource I need to add in order to craft one. I do think maybe the UI in that experience could be a little bit better, but again, I don't know if it's just a me issue right now or just something I need to adjust to. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. You can expect farming and crafting. In addition to that, we also will have farm animals and pets. Now, me personally, I was not able to get to farm animals or pets in the demo, but I have to say this is something that I very, very much look forward to, and that makes me very excited because one of the things I noticed while I was playing the demo is, for example, you can buy bunnies as just one of the animals you can own on your farm, and the bunnies not only are just to be cute or running around, the bunnies also serve a purpose to actually remove the weeds from your garden. I love the fact that they have a purpose and that they actually do something when they're running around, and it gives you more of a reason to actually purchase them in the game. So I love that, and that's something we can look forward to. Other animals that I have seen through trailers and gameplay is cows and goats, and I'm excited to see what other animals will be added into the game as well. Now, in addition to your farm animals, you do have pets, like I've mentioned. When I was running around in the demo, I came across a cute little pet shop, which was closed at the time, but basically they mentioned that the shop will be reopening, and I'm assuming that's where you can go and buy a little pet companion. I have seen through gameplay that one of the pets you can own is a dog. I'm assuming there will be other pets too, like maybe cats or something like that that kind of follow you around, which I absolutely adore. I have to say I am a person who loves the idea of collecting different pets, or, you know, just having a friendly companion to kind of venture out into the world with you. I just think it's another layer of customization that makes things very exciting. It will be interesting to see how, if the pets are equipped or put on your character, will have any kind of buff or anything like that. I hadn't noticed anything like that, but I'm interested to see if they do add any value to your character. But through their Discord and looking at the news and updates, I was able to find that there is going to be a fast travel option coming to the game, and that makes me very excited because one thing I found while running around is that it's a pretty big world and so vast sometimes that I even got lost and had to find my way back. So they look to be bringing something like a portal to the game. I will include the screenshot on the screen. Now, you will get access to this portal apparently through upgrading your house, which is very, very exciting, making kind of getting around the world a little bit easier. So if you're someone who loves fast travel, then you can look forward to that being a feature in the game in the future. All right, so let's dive into the actual exploring side of the game, and this is a huge portion, so there's a lot to talk about. There is literally so much to do. As while I was out exploring looking for a specific resource, I would get sidetracked because I found maybe a temple or I found some type of mini game, and you never really know what all can be interacted with unless you just try to interact with it. So for example, I came across a tree. It had like orange leaves and it kind of stood out because everything around this tree was green. So I just decided maybe I should chop this tree down because maybe it gives some kind of fancy resource. But it actually turned out to be a mini game. I had to switch my tools to the right tool in order to interact with what the tree transformed into. And at the end, I got a chest that rewarded me with different resources. And you will find mini games like that throughout the entire map. Many different ones too. Some are word puzzles, others are actual like color puzzles, and then like the one I just mentioned. You are going to lose focus because there's going to be so much for you to explore and do, and I absolutely love that feature because it just feels like the gameplay loop is like never ending. You can always expect something new and something fresh, and that's very, very exciting to me. And considering that most of these mini games give you some type of reward like a chest, it's very exciting to try to complete as many as you can because the chests are filled with resources that are valuable to your gameplay. In addition to these mini games that you'll run into, there are also temples that you'll have to complete as well. There are these little glowing triangles, which I'll include on the screen so you can see. I think you're going to have to contribute these items to the temples in order to get a specific reward or maybe to unlock something. But even just knowing that there are temples in the game is just another thing that you can do, which is exciting. Now, another thing I want to mention, while you're out getting lost through exploration, time does tend to pass a little quickly, but you don't have to worry about that in Luma Island because there is no penalty for not going to sleep at night. In fact, if you don't want to sleep at all, you don't have to. You can stay up all day and all night and it just changes to a new day and you can keep going, which I think is really refreshing in the cozy game space. Normally what we would have to do is to go to bed by a certain time or risk passing out. You usually wake up in a hospital or something like that. But in this game, you can just continue doing what you're doing. And I'm really looking forward to that as a refreshing feature in a cozy game. Now, even though you don't have to sleep, if you do decide for any reason that you want to go to sleep, to start maybe a new day, maybe you're farming or want your crops to grow faster, all you have to do is go to your bed inside of your little mobile home or inside of your house, and you can always go to sleep after 6 p.m. to start a new day. The great news doesn't stop there, friends. In addition to that, you don't have to worry about storage in this game. Don't worry about crafting a whole bunch of storage boxes. You don't have to worry about your inventory filling up while you're out looking around the world and collecting everything there is to collect, because your storage is completely infinite. I saw this pop up on screen as like a little tip while I was changing scenes, and I just have to say I was shocked. Not only shocked, but relieved to know I don't have to worry about organizing storage or being out foraging for the many ingredients that exist in this game. Speaking of foraging, there's lots for you to pick up. All of those things go into your pockets and you can hold as much as you want. So you don't have to worry about storage, which will be a very cozy and relaxing feature in Luma Island. And since we're talking about storage, we can also talk about foraging a little more in depth. You need to interact with literally everything. While you're running around, you will find salt, sand, rocks. There's different mining resources. You can catch shrimp. You also have fishing, which you can fish around. You'll also come across these little rocks that have like tools sticking out of them, like a pirate sword. And if you see anything like that, you can go ahead and try to pick it up and you will find a bunch of resources from that as well. So there's a ton to interact with. Make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled when you're running around, because if you think you can interact with it, it's most likely that you can. Now let's talk about dungeons. Dungeons in this game are very well thought out. They are in depth. They're not like your normal dungeons. I feel like they have combined the elements of what you can find in Stardew Valley with Dinkum. Now, if you're someone who's a little fearful of spiders, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a warning. There are creatures in the dungeons, so far from what I can tell, spiders, and they are not friendly at all. But I found the dungeons to be very exciting and spooky in a good way. When you go down, it's pitch black. You have to use torches in order to light your way. Now, the dungeons are very much risk versus reward. The further you go into the dungeon, the more resources that you will find, obviously. But if you do happen to pass away in the dungeons, then you restart back on your homestead, but you lose all of the resources that you found while you were down there. So you really do not want to die in the dungeons. Now, there are two ways that you can die. One is from the creatures that live in the dungeons. Two is from the darkness. If you stand in the dark for too long, it will fully consume you and you will pass away from that as well. Those are the only two I know about so far from playing the demo, but I did see some falling rocks. I think you want to probably try to avoid those. So there are just little elements of surprise that could catch you off guard when you're running around down there. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you come prepared. Now, in that same stance, there are other dungeons that are more like maybe shrines that have more of an exploration factor to it. These will have like little puzzles or mini games or even deadly traps that you're going to want to watch out for while you're running around. But there looks to be chests and other resources that you can find down there. One of them being Luma eggs. Now, Lumas may be one of the most exciting features for me. I'm a person who absolutely adores anything that has to do with fantasy or any fantasy elements. And Lumas are essentially little creatures that you can collect. You find them as eggs and then you take them home to an egg incubator and actually hatch them into little creatures like a floating balloon worm, a mushroom, or even a little dragon. I adore this. I absolutely adore this. I have nothing else to say besides I want to collect every single Luma that exists on the island. They not only are super cute, but they also have a reward. One thing you have to be mindful of when you do have your Lumas after they've hatched is that you pet them and feed them every day. The cutest little thing is that you throw food on the ground, they run over and eat it, and then they have this little animation that they do when they're excited about eating. After petting and feeding your Luma each day, they give you essence, which can be used in recipes. So it's very important that that you do take good care of your Lumas. And I just love that not only are they cute, but they serve a purpose as well. If you're someone who maybe likes Pokemon or just likes the idea of collecting different creatures, you're gonna love this aspect of the game. Now let's talk about relationship building. Now so far in the game, there are a ton of people to meet in town, and I love that aspect, but there is no element of romance yet. As I was taking a look through the FAQ on the website, it does say that romance is something that they're looking to add in a future update after the game is released. So we won't see this on November 20th, but it's possible that romance will be coming to the game sometime after that. And I have to say, I do love any time that I can romance characters in the game, and I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like. But for now, we do have the ability to talk with the different people who live in town. And also they have really good dialogue. From the people that I've spoken to in the game, their dialogue feels very lively, very upbeat, which I think is all positives in my book. Now, sometimes when you're talking to the NPCs, they will have quests for you to do as well. And I always find that exciting because I like to help the NPCs with whatever they need help with. Now, the one thing that I do wonder about is if you will get rewarded for questing. I'm assuming that you do, but I didn't complete any quests in the demo, so I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. But I'm assuming once you complete a quest for an NPC, they'll give you something in return. Now, last but not least, multiplayer. If you're interested in trying out multiplayer, it is available for you to try right now through the demo, and I highly recommend, if you're interested in this game, that you check out the demo. It was very, very well done. I had a lot of fun playing, and it only made me more excited about the game. But multiplayer is a feature that's going to be available on November 20th when the game is released. Now, multiplayer mode in Luma Island does go up to 4 players, which I think is a great number. And I think this is a game that's going to be super fun to explore with your friends, with a heavy emphasis on the dungeon diving or exploring the mines. It's just going to be really, really fun to see everybody's experience with the spiders and just traversing the mines together. I can already see how much fun people are going to be able to have in this game. Also with kind of decorating your homestead and tending to the farm animals. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. Not to mention, you and whoever else you choose to play with will be able to choose from the different professions. So that means you may have a cook in the group, an archaeologist, a jewelry maker, and maybe a brewer. So you can kind of touch bases on all of the professions if you want to. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun for everyone to experience as a group. So if you're into multiplayer, if you have friends that you want to play this game with, that is going to be a possibility. So you can probably tell from this video, I am a huge fan of Luma Island, and I cannot wait to stream this with my community come November 20th. So if that's something you're interested in, please don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, if you're looking for some more Luma Island content, I have an hour's worth of gameplay right here on the screen. Make sure you click that and check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.